He raised his glass and smirked as if he'd just told a harmless joke. "This year," he said, scanning the room packed with colleagues, friends, and family, "I asked for something exciting for my birthday. But instead, I got my same old boring wife." The room burst into laughter. Some chuckled nervously. A few shot me sympathetic glances. I stood frozen beside the cake I'd spent hours baking myself. I smiled. That was the moment I made the decision. Not out of rage, not even out of hurt, but with a strange calm, the kind of stillness that comes right before a storm. They didn't know who I used to be. They didn't know who I still was. They saw a quiet woman in her 40s. Homemaker. No-nonsense clothes. No social media presence. A ghost in the glamorous circle of my husband's flashy corporate world. But they never asked how I went from sleeping in subway stations to owning the deed to half the buildings downtown. They assumed, like everyone else. So I played along. The next morning, I packed a single suitcase and walked out while he was in the shower. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I just left a small envelope on the marble kitchen counter. Inside was my divorce petition and a little gift, the signed documents transferring all company control to me. Because here's the thing, my husband didn't build the company. I did. Years ago, when I had nothing, no roof, no food, no name, I met an old woman outside a rundown bookstore. She handed me a paper bag with warm bread and a folded note inside. "You have a mind that can turn nothing into everything. Use it." I never saw her again, but that moment changed me. I began investing the little I earned, reading endlessly, studying markets by night and cleaning offices by day. Slowly, I built something no one saw coming. I met my husband when he was struggling with debt. I helped him, created the structure of what would become his empire. But I stayed in the shadows. Not for weakness, by choice. Because the real power is quiet, strategic, invisible. He only saw the surface. A woman who cooked, cleaned, and stayed silent at board meetings. He thought I was boring. But he never noticed I held every password, every contract, every hidden account. For weeks after I left, he was frantic. Calling me, messaging me, threatening then begging. I said nothing. Instead, I walked into his office, now my office, dressed in the suit he told me I'd never wear again. And there, in front of his senior team, I made the announcement. "I'm here to implement new leadership. Effective immediately." He tried to speak, but the security guard, another quiet investment of mine, was already standing behind him. He was escorted out with the same arrogance he walked in with. Except this time, the cameras were watching. And this time, he wasn't the star. The internet exploded. #DivorceBoss trended for days. People guessed, speculated, dug into our past. But the best part? They still didn't know everything. They didn't know that I had been funneling profits into silent ventures for years, funding women-owned startups, shelters, scholarships for those who had no voice like I once didn't. Or that deep in the basement of my new penthouse office, locked behind a fingerprint scan, lay a vault filled with evidence of shady dealings, his dealings. I never exposed him. Not yet. Because sometimes, revenge isn't in destruction. It's in control. And maybe, just maybe, he'd suffer more watching me thrive in the world he thought I wasn't good enough for. But that's not where the story ends. A week after the takeover, I was approached by a stranger during my morning walk through Central Park. He was ragged, shaking, eyes wild with fear. He whispered, "They're watching you. The ones he owed, they're not gone." I paused, heart racing. "There's something you don't know about your husband," he said. About what he gave them in exchange for his success. He disappeared before I could ask more. And just like that, a new mystery unfolded. A deeper, darker game behind the one I thought I had mastered. Who were they? What had he promised? And what did they want from me? I returned home that night and checked the vault. One file was missing. My blood ran cold. It turns out, while I was planning his downfall, someone else had been watching both of us, waiting. This wasn't just a story of divorce, revenge, or redemption. It was the beginning of something far more dangerous. Something I might not walk away from untouched. But I'd survived worse. From concrete sidewalks to penthouse suites. From being mocked as boring to becoming the most feared woman in the city. So let them come. Because the quiet ones? We're never truly boring. We're just calculating. And when we strike, we don't just break hearts. We rewrite legacies. Will she uncover the truth behind her ex-husband's dark past before it's too late? Or has she stepped into a storm even she can't outsmart? Backhand index pointing right. Subscribe for more emotional revenge stories, powerful comebacks, and untold secrets. Hashtag divorce revenge, hashtag billionaire wife, hashtag plot twist ending, hashtag mysterious past, hashtag revenge story.